The moment the question landed, the room seemed to stop breathing. Cameras hummed, lights buzzed, and Kirk, usually smooth, usually prepared, froze like someone had just pulled the plug on his entire system. One innocent-sounding prompt about a vacation. One name, Jasmine. And suddenly, fans swear they saw everything change. His eyes flickered. His jaw tightened. His hands stopped moving altogether. In that split second, the internet knew something was very, very wrong. Viewers leaned closer to their screens as the silence stretched on just a beat too long. Was it shock? Was it guilt? Or was it fear of what might spill out if he spoke? Social media exploded instantly. Clips were slowed down, zoomed in, replayed frame by frame. Fans are shocked at how fast a simple question turned into a full-blown mystery, and they're convinced Kirk's body language told a story he didn't want anyone to hear. Because this wasn't just any vacation. This was the Jasmine vacation, the trip that had been whispered about for months, the one surrounded by vague answers, nervous laughs, and suspicious changes in the timeline. Every time Jasmine's name came up, emotions ran high. Friends deflected. Family changed the subject. And now, with Kirk freezing on camera, fans believe they finally caught the truth trying to escape. The tension was unbearable. Someone off camera cleared their throat. Kirk blinked, once, twice, like he was buying time. You could practically hear viewers screaming at their screens, begging him to answer, daring him to lie. And when he finally shifted in his seat, fans swear it wasn't relief, it was panic. The kind that comes when secrets start knocking from the inside. Comment sections lit up with theories. Was Jasmine even supposed to be mentioned? Was there a fight before the trip? A betrayal during it? Or something so explosive that even now, months later, Kirk couldn't bring himself to talk about it? Fans are dissecting every hidden move. The way he avoided eye contact, the way his shoulders stiffened, the way his voice cracked before he said a single word. What really happened on that vacation? Why does one question still have the power to shut him down completely? And who else has been quietly carrying the weight of whatever went wrong? One thing is clear, the family was left divided, the fans were left spiraling, and the truth is buried somewhere between that frozen moment and the answers no one's getting. And as this story unfolds, one question refuses to go away. If there was nothing to hide, why did Kirk freeze at all? The silence after Kirk froze didn't just stay in the room, it spilled everywhere. People watching felt it crawl under their skin, that uneasy pause that tells you something big is being swallowed before it can come out. When Kirk finally inhaled, it sounded sharp, like he'd forgotten how to breathe normally. Jasmine, sitting just a few feet away, didn't look at him. Her eyes stayed fixed on the floor, lips pressed tight, as if she'd already decided that whatever came next was going to hurt. Someone laughed nervously off camera, trying to shake the moment loose, but it didn't work. Kirk shifted in his seat, cleared his throat, and said, that vacation was just complicated. The word complicated landed wrong. Fans are shocked because that wasn't the answer of a man with nothing to hide. It was the answer of someone stalling, buying seconds, hoping the question would disappear if he didn't fully touch it. Jasmine finally looked up then, and the look on her face stopped everything all over again. It wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness. It was disappointment, sharp and quiet. Friends in the room felt it too. One of them later said it felt like watching a crack spread through glass in slow motion. No sound at first, just the knowledge that something had already broken. The host tried again, softer this time, asking if the trip changed anything between them. Kirk laughed, but it came out wrong, too loud, too fast. No, he said, shaking his head, then nodded immediately after, contradicting himself in real time. I mean, yes, but not in the way people think. Jasmine's jaw tightened. She crossed her arms, a small move fans immediately latched onto. Emotions ran high, and everyone could feel that the truth was circling, refusing to land. Online, fans were already taking sides. Some said Kirk looked cornered, like he'd been caught off guard by a question he thought was off limits. Others said Jasmine's silence was louder than anything he could say. Screenshots spread everywhere, zoomed in on her eyes, his hands, the space between them. The internet doesn't miss details, and this time it smelled blood. After the cameras cut, things got worse. Sources close to the group claimed Jasmine stood up first, whispering something to Kirk that made his face drain of color. No one heard the words clearly, but one person swore they caught, "You promised," before Jasmine walked out of the room. Kirk stayed behind, staring at the empty chair she left, like he was trying to rewind the last hour and choose different answers. Later that night, Kirk posted a vague message online about privacy and respect. Fans are shocked at how quickly the comments turned brutal. If there's nothing to hide, why freeze? One comment read. Say her name out loud, another demanded. Jasmine stayed silent, and that silence only made the theories louder. Friends reached out to both of them, but even those closest admitted they didn't know what really happened on that vacation. Flashbacks began surfacing. Fans dug up old clips where Kirk talked excitedly about traveling, about how trips bring people closer. Then they found the moment after the Jasmine vacation, where his tone changed, where he joked less, where he avoided details. It was all there, hidden in plain sight. People started connecting dots, building timelines, noticing gaps that couldn't be explained away as coincidence. Behind the scenes, the family was left divided. Kirk's sister reportedly defended him, saying people were reading too much into a moment of stress. Jasmine's cousin fired back online, hinting that the truth would come out whether Kirk liked it or not. That single comment sent fans into a frenzy. What truth? About what? And why did it sound like a warning instead of a promise? Friends who were on the vacation began acting strange too. One unfollowed Kirk. Another posted a throwback photo from the trip with Jasmine cropped front and center, Kirk barely visible in the background. It felt intentional, like a quiet statement. Emotions ran high as fans speculated about fights behind closed doors, about nights that ended in tears instead of laughter, about words said that couldn't be taken back. Jasmine finally broke her silence with a short post. No names, no details, just one line. Sometimes you realize the truth not during the storm, but in the calm that follows. Fans are shocked at how fast that quote became ammunition. Was Kirk the storm? Was the vacation the moment everything became clear? Kirk didn't respond, and that made it worse. Insiders claimed the vacation started perfectly. Smiles, photos, jokes. But somewhere halfway through, something shifted. An argument late at night. Voices raised. Someone leaving the room. No one agrees on exactly what happened, and that disagreement itself became part of the drama. Every version made Kirk look more trapped, more responsible, more afraid of what might be revealed if he talked too much. When Kirk was asked again days later in a different interview, he tried to regain control. He smiled, spoke calmly, said people should stop inventing stories. But the damage was done. Fans noticed his eyes darting away when Jasmine's name came up again. Noticed the way his voice dropped. Noticed how he never actually said she was wrong. The pressure started affecting everyone. Jasmine stopped appearing publicly with the group. Kirk cancelled events. Rumors swirled that lawyers had been consulted, that contracts were being reviewed, that someone wanted to control the narrative before it spun completely out of reach. The family was left divided, friends whispered, and fans waited, hungry for the moment the truth would finally break through. And somewhere in the middle of all this, that frozen moment replayed again and again. The second where Kirk stopped moving. The second where Jasmine stopped hoping. The second fans became convinced that whatever happened on that vacation wasn't over, wasn't resolved, and definitely wasn't going to stay buried for long. The fallout kept spreading even when no one was speaking publicly. Kirk's silence became its own kind of confession in the eyes of fans. Every hour without clarification felt heavier, like pressure building behind a wall that everyone knew would eventually crack. Jasmine, meanwhile, was seen for the first time days later stepping out alone, sunglasses on, face unreadable. The images went viral instantly. Fans are shocked not because she looked broken, but because she looked done. Sources close to the situation claimed Kirk tried to reach out privately. Multiple calls, long messages, voice notes left unanswered. One insider said Jasmine listened to the messages but never replied, letting the silence speak for her. That detail alone sent emotions running wild online. People began saying the vacation didn't just cause tension, it ended trust. And once trust breaks, no explanation ever sounds clean enough. Behind closed doors, friends were choosing sides. Group chats went quiet, dinners were cancelled. One longtime friend reportedly told Kirk, "You should have just told the truth when you had the chance." That sentence haunted fans when it leaked, because it suggested there was a clear moment where honesty could have stopped the chaos. Kirk missed it, and now everything was unraveling. Jasmine's family added fuel without saying much. Her mother liked a comment calling the situation heartbreaking but necessary. Her brother unfollowed Kirk entirely. Small digital actions, but in this world, they screamed. The family was left divided not just between Kirk and Jasmine, but within itself, with some urging privacy and others feeling the truth needed daylight. Rumors about the vacation grew darker. Fans speculated about a secret meeting, a surprise guest, a conversation overheard that changed everything. One theory suggested Jasmine discovered something that wasn't meant for her to see. Another claimed Kirk said something during a fight that revealed how he really felt. No proof, just endless speculation, but the emotional weight of it all felt real. When Kirk finally addressed the situation in a livestream, thousands tuned in within minutes. His face looked tired, eyes shadowed, voice softer than usual. He said he loved Jasmine, that people were misunderstanding things, that the vacation wasn't some dramatic turning point. But even as he spoke, fans noticed his hands shaking. Noticed how he avoided specifics. Noticed how every sentence felt rehearsed, carefully sanded down. Comments flooded in faster than he could read. Say what happened. Why won't you say her name? If you didn't do anything wrong, explain it. Emotions ran high, and Kirk eventually ended the stream abruptly, claiming he wasn't feeling well. That moment became another clip dissected endlessly, another piece of the puzzle fans tried to force into place. Jasmine responded hours later, not with anger, but with clarity. She posted that healing sometimes requires distance, that not every story needs to be told to be true. Fans are shocked by how calm her words were compared to the storm surrounding them. Many took it as confirmation that she had already moved emotionally past Kirk, even if the world hadn't caught up yet. Friends started leaking more details, anonymously of course. Whispers of an argument that lasted hours. Tears. Kirk insisting he was misunderstood. Jasmine asking the same question over and over, getting different answers each time. Betrayal doesn't always come from one act, some said, but from realizing someone will never give you the same truth twice. The vacation photos were slowly disappearing from Kirk's profile. One by one, gone. Fans noticed immediately. Screenshots resurfaced. Timelines were rebuilt. Why delete memories if they were harmless? Why erase smiles if nothing went wrong? Every move Kirk made seemed to deepen suspicion instead of easing it. Pressure mounted as sponsors and producers reportedly asked questions. No one wanted to be tied to a scandal that refused to settle. Kirk's team urged him to stay quiet. Jasmine's circle encouraged her to keep her dignity intact. The distance between them grew wider, colder, more permanent. And still, that frozen moment remained the center of it all. The pause that started everything. The question about a vacation that wasn't just a vacation. It was the place where illusions cracked, where silence became louder than words, and where fans realized they weren't watching a misunderstanding unfold, but the slow collapse of something that had already ended long before the cameras caught it. By the time dawn broke after that livestream, the story had grown bigger than both of them. Kirk woke up to missed calls from his manager, his sister, and two friends he hadn't spoken to in months. Jasmine woke up to nothing at all, and that silence felt intentional. Fans are shocked by how clearly the lines had been drawn overnight. There was no neutral ground anymore. You were either waiting for Kirk to explain himself, or you were done waiting altogether. Kirk's sister finally spoke out in a private group chat that quickly leaked. She said people were being cruel, that her brother was human, that mistakes shouldn't define a lifetime. But the message ended with one sentence that made everyone pause. You don't know the whole story. Fans latched onto that immediately. Not a denial, not a correction, just confirmation that something bigger existed beneath the surface. Jasmine, on the other hand, was seen spending time with friends who hadn't been around her in months. Laughter caught on camera, relaxed shoulders. It unsettled people who expected her to look devastated. Emotions ran high in the comments. Some praised her strength, others accused her of moving on too fast. But those closest to her said this wasn't moving on. This was relief. Behind the scenes, Kirk was unraveling. One source said he kept replaying the interview in his head, muttering, "I should have answered differently." Another said he blamed the host for ambushing him. But when someone suggested Jasmine had been blindsided too, Kirk reportedly went quiet. That quiet spoke volumes. The vacation details continued leaking in fragments. Apparently, there was a night when Jasmine left the hotel room and didn't come back until morning. Kirk told friends she needed air. Jasmine later told someone she needed clarity. Those two explanations didn't sit well together. Fans are shocked by how one night could carry so much weight without anyone ever fully describing it. Then came the rumor that changed everything. An anonymous account claimed Kirk had made a promise before the trip, something about transparency, about nothing being off limits. During the vacation, that promise was tested, and according to the rumor, it failed. Not with a dramatic confession, but with half-truths and evasions. The kind that make you question everything that came before. Kirk tried damage control again, this time through a written statement. He said relationships are complex, that growth is painful, that not every conflict needs a villain. The words sounded mature, but fans noticed what was missing. No apology, no accountability, no mention of Jasmine by name. Emotions ran high as people accused him of hiding behind vague language to avoid facing the real issue. Jasmine's friends didn't hold back. One of them posted, "When someone shows you who they are under pressure, believe them." Another added, freezing isn't shock, it's fear of being exposed. The family was left divided even further as Kirk's supporters pushed back, saying these posts were unfair, one-sided, and harmful. The narrative started shifting. This wasn't just about what happened on a vacation anymore. It became about power, about who controls the story, about who gets to speak and who is expected to stay quiet. Jasmine's refusal to overshare became a statement in itself. Kirk's attempts to explain without explaining only fed suspicion. A mutual friend finally broke and spoke anonymously to a blog. They said the vacation was supposed to be a reset, a chance to reconnect. Instead, it became a mirror, showing both of them things they couldn't ignore. Jasmine asked direct questions, the source said. Kirk gave indirect answers. Fans are shocked by how simple that sounded, and how devastating it was. That explanation resonated because it matched what everyone had seen. The freezing, the dodging, the nervous laughter, it all fit. Kirk wasn't caught in a lie, some argued. He was caught avoiding a truth he didn't want to face himself. The pressure began affecting Kirk's behavior publicly. He snapped at a photographer. Cancelled another appearance last minute. His smile disappeared from recent photos. Jasmine, meanwhile, seemed lighter. Not happier, but steadier. Grounded. That contrast became impossible to ignore. Then came the unexpected twist. Jasmine attended an event where Kirk was supposed to appear, but he didn't show. When asked if she was surprised, she simply said, no. That single word echoed louder than any statement either of them had released. Fans are shocked by how final it sounded. Whispers of a permanent split grew louder. Some said paperwork was already being discussed. Others said there was still a chance if Kirk came clean. But every day that passed without clarity made reconciliation feel less likely. Trust, once fractured, doesn't wait forever. And still, the question that started it all hung in the air. What really happened on that vacation? Kirk knew. Jasmine knew. A few others probably knew. But the world only had fragments, pauses, and that frozen moment that refused to lose its power. The story wasn't slowing down. It was tightening, pulling everyone closer to an ending no one could stop, only brace for. As the days passed, the tension didn't fade, it hardened. Kirk stopped posting entirely, which only made fans louder. Silence was no longer neutral, it was interpreted as strategy. Jasmine's calm presence online felt like contrast therapy for the chaos. She shared ordinary moments, coffee with friends, a walk at sunset, nothing dramatic, and that simplicity cut deeper than any accusation. Fans are shocked at how peace can look like a statement when drama is expected. Then a new clip surfaced, filmed weeks before the vacation. Kirk and Jasmine laughing, someone off camera joking about secrets and honesty. Kirk had laughed it off back then, saying, everything's out in the open. The irony hit hard. Emotions ran high as fans replayed that line, placing it side by side with his frozen silence months later. The difference felt like proof of a journey that went wrong. Friends began privately admitting what they hadn't wanted to see. One said Jasmine had been asking for clarity long before the trip. Another admitted Kirk avoided hard conversations, hoping time would smooth things over. The vacation wasn't the cause, they said. It was the exposure. Put together in a new place, without distractions, the gaps became impossible to ignore. A leaked voice note intensified everything. The audio was grainy, but the voice unmistakably Kirk's. He sounded frustrated, defensive, repeating that he didn't want to be misunderstood. At one point he said, I just need time to explain it the right way. Fans are shocked by how that line landed. Explain what? And why wasn't Jasmine worthy of that explanation first? Jasmine never acknowledged the leak, but someone close to her said she listened to it once and then put her phone down. No tears, no reaction, just a quiet acceptance that what she needed had already been shown. The family was left divided again when some accused her of staying silent to protect her image. Others argued her silence was the most honest response possible. Pressure from outside sources mounted. Producers wanted clarity. Brands wanted distance. Kirk's team urged him to issue a full apology, but insiders said he resisted, claiming it would admit to something that wasn't true. That internal battle spilled outward. Every delay, every half-step, made the narrative harsher. Then Jasmine was seen with someone unexpected, a mutual acquaintance from before Kirk. Nothing romantic, just conversation, but the photos sparked outrage. Fans accused her of sending signals. Supporters defended her right to live freely. Kirk reportedly saw the images and went quiet for hours. When he finally spoke to a friend, he said, I didn't think it would end like this. Fans seized on that phrasing. End. Not pause. Not misunderstanding. End. Another twist came when a hotel employee from the vacation location anonymously shared a detail. They claimed there was a night when voices were raised behind a closed door, followed by one person leaving abruptly. No names were mentioned, but the timing matched everything else. Emotions ran high as people debated whether this crossed a line. Some demanded proof. Others said patterns mattered more than receipts. Jasmine's cousin finally spoke in a long post that never mentioned Kirk directly. It talked about choosing self-respect over comfort, about realizing love can exist without safety, and why that's not enough. Fans are shocked by how clearly it echoed what many suspected. The post ended with, "Some people freeze because the truth threatens the story they've been telling themselves." That line spread everywhere. Kirk's response was delayed, and when it came, it was brief. He said he was stepping back to focus on growth. No timelines, no promises, no explanations. The word growth sounded hollow to some, hopeful to others. But even his supporters admitted something felt unresolved, like a door left half open with no intention of being closed properly. The atmosphere around both of them shifted. Jasmine looked forward-facing, making plans, rebuilding routines. Kirk looked stuck in the past, replaying moments, trying to find the version of events that would hurt the least. Friends noticed it. Family noticed it. The divide wasn't loud anymore. It was final. Fans continued analyzing the original frozen moment, as if it were a riddle that could still be solved. Every blink, every breath, every twitch had meaning assigned to it. But over time, a new understanding settled in. The freeze wasn't just fear of exposure. It was the realization that the explanation he needed didn't exist. Not one that would make everything okay again. And as the noise slowly began to thin, replaced by acceptance and fatigue, one truth became harder to ignore. Whatever happened on that vacation didn't just change how people saw Kirk and Jasmine. It changed how they saw themselves. One found clarity in silence. The other found chaos in avoiding it. And that difference ensured that no matter how many statements were released, or how many clips resurfaced, the story had already crossed the point where words could fix what had finally come undone. The story refused to die down, even when everyone involved seemed exhausted by it. Time passed, but instead of healing the situation, it sharpened memories. Kirk stayed mostly out of sight, and when he did appear, it was clear something had shifted inside him. People said he looked older, heavier somehow, like carrying a truth that kept changing shape every time he tried to hold it. Fans are shocked by how visibly the pressure showed, even without him saying a word. Jasmine, meanwhile, began reclaiming pieces of her life that had gone quiet during the relationship. She returned to routines she'd abandoned, met friends she hadn't seen in months, and slowly rebuilt a version of herself that didn't revolve around waiting for answers. Those close to her said the vacation forced a realization she couldn't unsee. It wasn't about what Kirk did or didn't do in one moment. It was about how small she felt trying to understand him. Another private detail leaked when a former mutual friend finally spoke out anonymously. They said Jasmine had asked one question on the vacation that never got answered clearly. Not because Kirk didn't speak, but because every answer led somewhere else. Deflections, justifications, jokes used as shields. The friend said Jasmine didn't cry that night. She went quiet, and that quiet scared Kirk more than anger ever could. Fans latched onto that idea immediately. Silence as a turning point. The moment someone stops fighting for clarity because they've accepted it won't come. Emotions ran high as people compared it to the frozen moment on camera. Two silences, mirrored, one from someone realizing the truth, the other from someone avoiding it. Kirk's attempts at self-reflection became more public. He liked posts about accountability, shared vague quotes about growth and loss. But each move was dissected. Fans accused him of curating a redemption arc without addressing the core issue. His supporters argued he was being unfairly judged, that people grow privately. The family was left divided yet again, caught between defending him and wishing he'd just say what needed to be said. Then came an unexpected twist. A friend of Kirk's hinted in a podcast appearance that Kirk felt betrayed too. That he believed Jasmine had already emotionally checked out before the vacation. That the trip exposed distance that was already there. The comment exploded online. Fans are shocked by how quickly the narrative tried to flip. Suddenly, some were asking if Kirk froze not out of guilt, but out of shock that Jasmine had already made up her mind. Jasmine didn't respond publicly, but someone close to her shared that she wasn't surprised. She'd sensed Kirk needed to be the wounded one to survive the situation. Not maliciously, but instinctively. It was easier to process pain if it came with a role. Victim, misunderstood partner, man under attack. Accepting responsibility without a script was harder. Private messages between mutual friends became tense. Sides were redrawn. People who once laughed together now avoided shared spaces. The fallout wasn't loud anymore, but it was deep. It affected birthdays, holidays, even casual gatherings. Everyone had a version of the truth they believed, and those versions no longer fit in the same room. Another clip resurfaced, this time from after the vacation but before the frozen interview moment. Kirk had joked about how trips reveal who people really are. At the time, no one noticed. Now, it felt prophetic. Fans replayed it endlessly. Who did the trip reveal? Jasmine? Kirk? Or both? Jasmine finally addressed the situation in a longer message, still careful, still composed. She said she didn't regret the vacation, because it showed her what she needed to know. She said clarity doesn't always come from answers, sometimes it comes from patterns. Fans are shocked by how directly that landed without naming anyone. It felt like closure delivered quietly, without drama. Kirk reportedly read the message multiple times. A friend said he wanted to respond, to finally explain everything properly. But every draft sounded like an excuse. Every explanation felt incomplete. He was trapped between wanting to be understood and knowing understanding might not change anything anymore. The narrative began to shift again, not toward blame, but toward inevitability. People started saying this was always going to happen. That the vacation didn't break them, it just removed distractions. The frozen moment wasn't a scandal, it was a pause where reality caught up to someone unprepared for it. Fans still argued, still theorized, but the tone softened. Curiosity replaced outrage. What once felt explosive now felt reflective. What does it mean when someone freezes? What does it mean when another person walks away without demanding answers? The story became less about drama and more about recognition. Kirk eventually returned with a quiet appearance, no announcement, no build-up. He looked into the camera and said he was learning to listen instead of explain. He didn't mention Jasmine. He didn't revisit the vacation. But the absence of defense spoke louder than his earlier statements. Emotions ran high among viewers who felt this was the closest he'd come to honesty. Still, not everything was resolved. Questions lingered. Could things have ended differently if he'd spoken sooner? If he hadn't frozen? If the truth had come out in the moment instead of being buried under silence? Those questions remained unanswered, hovering like ghosts over every replayed clip. And as the story entered a quieter phase, one thing became clear. The damage wasn't just in what happened on the vacation. It was in what didn't happen afterward. The conversations avoided, the truths delayed, the moment lost. The freeze became a symbol not of one man's fear, but of how easily everything can change when honesty arrives too late to save what's already slipping away. And now it's on you. After everything you've just heard, every pause, every silence, every moment where emotions ran high and the truth seemed just out of reach, the story still isn't finished. Maybe it never will be. Because stories like this don't end cleanly. They linger in questions, in what-ifs, in the moments that replay in your mind long after the screen goes dark. Kirk freezing wasn't just a reaction, it was a turning point. Jasmine walking away wasn't just distance, it was a decision. And somewhere between those two moments, something real was lost. You've seen how one question about a vacation turned into a storm that divided families, fractured friendships, and exposed cracks no one wanted to admit were there. Fans are shocked because it all feels familiar. Haven't you ever watched someone avoid the truth? Haven't you ever stayed silent when words mattered most? That's why this drama hits so hard. It's not just gossip, it's reflection. But here's the thing, there are still so many unanswered questions. Did Kirk freeze because he was guilty, or because he realized too late that explanations wouldn't change anything? Did Jasmine already know the truth before the vacation, or did that trip finally confirm what she'd been feeling all along? And most importantly, could this all have ended differently if honesty had come sooner instead of silence? This is where your voice matters. Because every fan sees something different. Some of you see fear. Some of you see avoidance. Some of you see heartbreak on both sides. And some of you are still undecided, still weighing every look, every word, every hidden move. That's what keeps this story alive. So now, don't just watch quietly. Step into the conversation. Hit that like button if you felt the tension, if you caught yourself holding your breath during those frozen moments. Subscribe if you want to stay with us as we keep digging into the drama, the clues, and the stories no one wants to tell out loud. Because this isn't the last time silence will speak louder than words. And most importantly, drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Kirk will ever fully come clean? Do you believe Jasmine already has the closure she needs? Or do you think this story still has one final twist waiting to explode? Tell us which side you're on, or if you refuse to choose one at all. Read what other fans are saying. Argue, agree, question everything. Because in stories like this, the truth isn't just what happened on a vacation. It's how people react when they're finally asked to face it. And sometimes, the loudest answers come from the moments where nothing is said at all. Stay tuned. This drama isn't over. And neither is the conversation.